Well, good evening, everyone, on this April Fool's poetry reading in the PoemWorks reading series. My name is Richard Waring. I'm a member of the Workshop for Publishing Poets, and we are so excited to have two fabulous poets tonight and several open mic readers. I want to start out with a couple of interesting quotes. Here's one, Nikki Giovanni. She says, "Writers don't write from experience, although many are hesitant to admit that they don't. If you wrote from experience, you'd get maybe one book, maybe 3 poems. Writers write from empathy." And Robert Pinsky says, "Reading a poem silently instead of saying a poem is like the difference between staring at sheet music and actually humming or playing the music on an instrument." And I do believe that poems yearn to be read out loud, that is their final fulfillment. Mary Oliver says, "My loyalty is to the inner vision, whatever, whenever, and however it may arrive. If I had a meeting with you at 3 o'clock, rejoice if I am late. Rejoice even more if I do not arrive at all." So our first wonderful reader is Robert Carr, the author of Amaranth, published in 2016 by Indolent Books, and The Unbuttoned Eye, a full-length 2019 collection from 3 at Talos Press. Among other publications, his poetry appears in Crab Orchard Review, Lana Turner Review, the Maine Review, the Massachusetts Review, and Shenandoah. Selected by the Maine Writers and Publishers Alliance, he's the recipient of the 2022 Artist Residency at Monsart Arts, where he currently is.
That's right.
Please welcome Robert.
Thank you so much. It's just a pleasure to be here. So I really believe in poetry magic, and I've had the privilege of becoming more familiar with Brittany's work over the last few weeks, anticipating this reading. As some of you know, I came to poetry about 7 years ago, returned to poetry about 7 years ago. After a 30-year career in public health, where I was really drawn into responding to the HIV pandemic as a queer man. And so the first link I opened was Brittany's poem, one of her series of the double portraits at 32 poems. "Everyone is writing poems for the dead, those who have gone missing, those who have gone." And my response was, okay, this is why this is happening. I'm going to read a few poems from my collection, The Unbuttoned Eye, which was the unpacking of the HIV pandemic in my experience, and which I'm so thrilled to see Franny Lindsay here, who has been such a partner in that book. And what happened when I read Brittany's work is I felt, okay, I'm going to take some risks. I'm going to read some poems that I don't usually read at readings from the book. The first poem is, there are a series of epistolary poems in conversation with Robert Mapplethorpe, who died of HIV disease in 1989. And I'm going to read the first of those, called Letter to Mapplethorpe. For those who might not be as familiar, there are 3 portfolios of his photography. The X portfolio, which is his images of the S&M community, the Y portfolio, which is his flowers, and the Z portfolio, which is images of Black men. And I'll go from there. Letter to Mapplethorpe. The paper skin prints of my left hand flip through your X portfolio. Polaroid fuck collective, porcelain models pulled from mineshaft piss. What draws me back? Sorting blue blood photos, the albums, black construction paper pages, glued corners, colorless baby portraits, pudgy legs forgotten in silver marker. Robert, are you out there with horns glued to your head? Do you clutch a bouquet of dried carnations, the blossomed assholes of men? Do you miss being in a body? After X, a Y, we, a pair of jacks in the pulpit, stand back to back in Johnny's, die on opposite sides of a privacy screen in a shared red room. You would pitch fits to find the whip has fallen out your ass. The Y portfolio stands alone, a floating gardenia, a bowl of leaning tulips. Stop asking, Robert, why? When the air is still and finally breathable, and the dead eye of the world is counting blessings, I am writing endings. There's an empty chair in the corner where pale blue vinyl has split. Stop asking if you succeeded, if Z is still untouchable. You're long dead. The perfection of black skin has amplified to unspeakable. Thin men measure dark lengths along the lining of a mouth. Gratitude out of reach. I finger a smear on the frames of your black and hairless portraits. Robert, fucking with me still? Laughing eyes blank, holding frozen the silver knobbed skull of your stick. An eel white arm leans into your cane. We leer, grip loosening into the composition. Font. I like your blonde curls in barlight. The silver foil peels from a beer. There's a little ocean in your green eyes, a lot of sad. You talk about the drive down from Skowhegan, pulling over twice so he could heave. A long day of waiting at Maine Medical, beloved backbones, a constant reminder. The body once had weight. I take you to my room, the Motel 6 in Portland. You whisper how he's lost the strength to walk. So for weeks, you've carried him like a child learning a waltz. You let me know how, lifted from the bed, he places lesioned soles on top of your feet. How you walk backward toward the bathroom, how in all those weeks you haven't cried. You roll white socks, slip them into Reeboks. After apologetic sex, I tell you, get up. Towering, I tell you, put your feet on mine. Arms wrapping shoulders, cheek against chest. I walk us to the motel window. Listen to your jag of breath, whimper of weeping for a man I'll never meet. I memorize the font of a red 6, the cigarette smell of your hair. The final poem I'm reading from this collection is in part based on response to Ocean Vuong's Au Bad with Burning City, where he uses the lyrics of White Christmas in terms of the evacuation of Hanoi. In this poem, it's a response to the early HIV pandemic in San Francisco, and has an epigraph, but also uses the lyrics of a different song, which is It's Raining Men from the Weather Girls. Obad with Pin. San Francisco, October 10th, 1984. The city's public health department director today ordered 14 bathhouses and sex clubs catering to homosexuals to close immediately, saying they were, quote, fostering disease and death, unquote, by allowing indiscriminate sexual encounters that could spread AIDS. 1. I whisper the closing of Cauldron. A locker key, blue bungeed, tight, cutting blood to my bare arm. Every night, unzipped, pull to unlit baths, a gurney in the street, red-blue spin of siren repeating. Weather girls wailing. It's raining men. Hallelujah. By 1984, I forgot how to feel. Every night, I slipped a pin in a different finger, tasting 10 perfect beads of blood. I cut back on screwing, though risk made me hard. 2. Each time I slipped a finger in another man, I opened, hovering over that long song loop, his spine. Wave of nausea, blackout, slippery buckshot, and we believed CDC bullshit that no one could be trusted. The night before the Cauldron closed, I stepped out in the alley to blow satin skin through smoke. Rocking trash cans clashed with fear of switchblade and suck. I considered it practice for when the sex clubs closed. 3. Driven into streets, we all got used to shooting under stars. Big, beautiful voices sang in my head. The street's the place to go, because tonight, for the first time, just about 10:30, for the first time in history, it's gonna start raining men. I fucked in countless numbers, blades of park grass. For the first and only time in history, I bottomed, saw a muscle man running into an open eye, his pupils face up, pinpoints. 4. I was living with my mother. Only she reminded me, not everyone who dies is a beautiful boy. Amen. A box of straight pins in her sewing room, sticking pins in fingers. I repeat lists to shuffle faces and music out of my head. Bedazzled bead pins, T-band dance pins, patchwork sex pins, quilting the dead pins, pearlized necklace pins, and how ironic, all straight pins. 5. In the end, absolutely soaking wet. In the end, uninfected, pretending under every sort of light, mouth pit, air, and skin lesions are supposed to appear black. Decades in waiting rooms, sitting under fluorescent, a broken chair, a chant, it's raining men, every specimen, drawn from my body every 6 months by a needle, not a pin. Decades bled, protecting my tall, blonde, dark, and lean. A single room, throbbing vein, tied off, rubber rope. And finally, from that collection, my poem Cage. And for this one, it's like for me, the parallel between pandemics. And I'm thinking so much of the people with COVID who died without their friends and lovers and family near. And so many men who, because their partners and friends were not defined as family, couldn't be with them.
Mm-hmm.
Cage. Did your green eye look for my brown eye as your life, your unchecked, watery shit ran out? Did you wonder where I was? Did your thumb slide the mortared groove of a cinder block wall, remembering through thick paint the living line of my jaw? Did your breath break as mine does now, knowing you were wet, alone, caged, not in my arms, not under my whispering hand, counting your ribs, slowing your heart? The next couple of poems, in my lifespan, it's kind of, that book took me to a place of finding out what happened before and what happened after the height of the AIDS pandemic. I graduated from college in 1982, which was when this is all unfolding. And I'm reading two poems. One is the before the pandemic, and one is the after, which is for my husband of 33 years. And this poem is going to be appearing in the upcoming version of the Chestnut Review. I'm very excited about that. How to eat lobster.
Mm-hmm.
Softer than college friends, my lobsterman is solid as a callus, a desired scratch, sky-eyed, with an upright I don't trust, sexy as sunlight on a harbor seal. Tight-bearded, blonde. He takes me to a pound. At our table on Cape Porpoise, steamers, bibs we don't wear, hot sea water. I confess, I've never ordered live ones. Mom bought me rolls. There's a sweet meat in the legs, he says. Start there. Break them off. Bite down. Inch it in your mouth. Now, snap off the tail. We peel back green tamale, dipped his bearded lip meat chewy. He calls it eating watermelon. The sailor savors my slice of pink. Beach blankets, belly down, the open bills of gulls, flying with those high gray birds. I wonder if I give him tongue, will I taste his heart? I flip it up, find slick force in the boyish body of an older lover, bent in a shared breath. We smell the salt of crashing. Now, split the claw, use the cracker, open knuckles, shove fingers in the shell. We rinse, drop sea flesh in cloudy water. The nut pick slips and bloodies my thumb. He reaches across the table, takes my hand and drinks. Blood and butter. The taste of touch with a tongue, love, a shattered urchin smashed on stone, that pile of shell, the hammer of his hips, skinned outside a cabin overhanging cliffs. And on the other end of that spectrum, the 33-year marriage. I'm reminded of what I've forgotten. Squirrels scatter nut chunks from the giant hickory tree above the drive. Walking the dog, you remind me of little things I've failed to do. I hold a braided lead. You slip on bitter shell. Could you sweep this up, you have asked. The oven heated to 350 after dinner's done. You want this on? Bedroom windows as we leave the house. You want these open? Back door unlocked the morning after I'm home late. Could you do something about that? I answer, apparently not. I've learned a few things over years. The toilet seat is always down, the 3-ply paper over, not under. Lies have consequences, and more than one chest beats. On our walk, you stoop to pick up shit. Fresh shaved head, spots of red on your fair scalp. I'll miss the reminders. So please, don't die. I have never brushed a bath. Nothing will be swept. Meals burn. Wind and rain will pour through every opening in the house. Glass picture frames exploding in the hall. My bleeding fist. The sink filled with coffee mugs. Rot in the fridge. Even my body will smell different if you go. And I'd like to close with 2 short poems. I'm very excited. Three of Taos Press has accepted my latest manuscript, The Heavy of Human Clouds. And this opportunity at Monson has been really extraordinary to revise that a manuscript based on feedback from Andrea Watson. It's been a trip. And what I'm doing is, I feel like in my work, I'm reconciling my body with nature, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of echo poetry in this collection, and these are two poems. The shortest season. I gather scarabs from giant marigolds, white rugosa roses, copper-winged, iridescent headed, paired beads mate between bedsheet petals. Picked off like blackberries. Life trembles, frantic between knuckles, rebellion in a closed fist. I drop beetles in a bowl of soapy water. The legs of jewels stop moving. This is the shortest season. Imago, winged and bright and hungry. Banished from flowers. 1. I've lived contained by pestilence, yet bees move through my pelvis, honeycombed. In solitude, blood reverses course, artery becomes vein. 2. The essentials of survival grow in dirt beneath my nails, sacrificial radish, curled tendrils of slicing cuke. Have you searched for compost in your loneliness? 3. On limpid days, I punch knots out the pine boards of my apiary, blurred by swarms, cerebral desire to be stung. With each day, reasons to wear clothes fall away. 4. Body. You're my tallest drink of nectar. I'll oil you down, drink chlorine from cock, vitality bleached. Your sweat has let me know you're also frightened. 5. Under an outdoor shower, no one near. It's kind of sexy when my fingers slide through unprotected knuckle. I've made peace with swelling. My rings, only removed when soaped. 6. I sort splinters from a crate of memorabilia, breath droplets fall like promises from a mouth. Box cutters and buzz killers haunt in my containment. Thank you so much.
Woo woo.
Wow, yes.
Yeah. Woo.
Robert, I have studied with Allen Ginsberg and he had nothing on you. Thank you so much. I mean, this really shows that this is an oral art, and to read on a page is to maybe see just the corpse of what someone has written. It needs to be corporeal and auditory for its full essence, I believe. But you are lucky, everyone, all 29 of us, that I am going to send to you in the chat how you might get something of Robert's books. So if you see there, you can click on that link.
Yay, and I'll sign it for you. Get it all out there.
Excellent, excellent. So I want to just mention that this is an ongoing reading series, and next month, again, it's the first Friday of the month, we're going to have a special Mother's Day poetry reading on May 6th with Lisa Rua Ware and Julie Eben. So if you're coming to that, you might want to think about bringing a mother poem. So I am very excited to introduce Brittany Perham, who is the author of Double Portrait, W.W. Norton 2017, which was selected by Claudia Rankin for the Bernard Women's Poets Prize and was a finalist for the Northern California Book Award. Also, the Curiosities Free Verse Editions 2012, and with Kim Adonisio, the collaborative work art chapbook, The Night Could Go in Either Direction, SHP 2016. Her work has received support from the Civitella Reniera Foundation, the Dorothy Sargent Rosenberg Fund, the James Merrill House Foundation, the University of Kentucky, the University of Virginia, and the Wallace Stenger Fellowship Program. She teaches in the creative writing program at Stanford University and directs the masterclass workshop for Bay Area poets. Live from San Francisco, Brittany Perham.
Woohoo!
Yay,
Thanks,
yay.
Richard. Thanks, everybody. Bob, it was so great to hear your poems. I, was reminded again how, when we're writing elegy and in those pandemic poems that you were writing, the way elegy sort of reaches out in tradition to touch the love poem. And I was just listening to that gorgeousness in your work and the sadness, but also the love that came through in those AIDS pandemic poems. I thought they were just beautiful. I am going to read to you tonight from this book, Double Portrait. I will start with the poem that you mentioned, Bob, because I think there are so many similarities in that poem with your work, especially, I think one of your poems ended with, I think, something like the cigarette smell in your hair or something. And this poem has that image too. So it's really great to hear these two together. So all the poems that I'm going to read are double portraits. So they're titled with numbers just to sort of house them within the series in the collection that they're in. so that's why, I at one point when I was making this book, I had all of them titled Double Portrait. And I had a reader friend say to me, you cannot have them all called Double Portrait because it's oppressive to the reader. So I gave them these numbers as a way to organize them in the collection. Okay, so I will start with the poem that you mentioned, Bob, Double Portrait F30. Everyone's writing poems for the dead, those who have gone missing, those who have gone. Everyone's writing poems for the dead, even without meaning to, even unwillingly. We crack the brain's back door for children, for lovers who set their door swinging, who come back, even unwillingly, to tell us something we think we hear in her singular smoker's voice, when lately we believed in no voice but our own. We think we hear her beside us in the kitchen, lifting our hair. See how we brought her home. See how she's brought her cigarette. We breathe in. The kitchen after this is predictably dark. Already the visitation is a memory. Already we suspect visitation is only memory, lighting the film in the chamber's dark. It's certainly a flash in our particular brain that captures our particular other, her hippocampal Polaroid exposed, no other way to certainly find her. Our pain brain recalled her momentarily, exactly. For a second, she was more ours than she ever really was, entirely ours. We go on recalling her consciously, inexactly, to keep her from going again. She who was, we'd like to believe it, telling us to say what we came to say. Don't go, you who've gone, you who were. Okay.
Nice.
Oh, thank you. It's so great to be here and to read for this workshop who, so many of you in this room really were the people that taught me to be a writer. I would not be a poet without you, Richard and Gray and Margot and, many people here. I know my life would have been totally different without this group of people. And you are all foundational to me in my spirit. And I'm really glad to be reading with you tonight. Okay, I will read some domestic poems. So Bob, you had this thread too, poems for a long relationship, sort of domestic poems. I hope maybe these are a little bit lighter too, from the poem that I just read. So I'll read a couple of these, and these go by fast. I feel like I'm always, telling my students like slow down, but these in this series just have to be read quickly, so they will go by pretty fast. Double Portrait BO2. I leave my bowl in the sink till you wash it. You do it so loudly, it wakes me up nasty. You make the coffee, I drink it, I'm a little more with it. So I make the bed, I'd like to be praised. You'd like some help with the dish rack, it's molding. I'd buy a new one, but this one you say will end up in a landfill, or worse, in the trash swirl that's gathering off our very own coast. Who cares? It's too late. There's no water in California. We'll live in a desert. But I hate deserts, they're dry. It's unnatural to see how far you can see. And if you cared about water, you'd stop washing the dish rack. I'll buy one. I read your new book. It's great. Now I'm sulky. I get a new job, insurance. It's great. Now you're sulky, but also you're happy. I'm happy. I'm happy. You're happy. It's payday. I buy some champagne. You cook some shellfish. I drink so much. I'm starting to think I've got the new book. You've got the new job. We're rich. We're successful. I get misty and bitchy, pick a fight about napkins. Who needs them? We've got paper towels. No need to wash them. It's classic, you say, the night ending this way. You say sorry all morning. I say sorry all morning. Hungover, I'm older than last night. You go to Safeway to buy chocolate ice cream, my favorite in Sundays. I ate the whole pint with sprinkles and cherries. Leave my bowl in the sink till you wash it. You do it. Okay.
Wow.
Let's see. Okay, I'll read this one. This one's a pantoum, which I think probably all of us are writers here, so I feel like I don't have to say anything about that. But if you've ever written a pantoum, you know, like sort of how claustrophobic it starts to feel. And this one is actually a linked series of 3 pantoums because I was curious how far I could push this claustrophobia feeling, especially in a sort of domestic poem. So this one is a little bit longer. Double portrait B03. I try to want it, but I don't. When serving lunch, you give me the better sandwich. This is something I'll never have to question. We eat in perfect silence. When serving lunch, you give me the better sandwich. You pour the water and the coffee. We eat in perfect silence. We can sit together all afternoon looking at the snow. You pour the water and the coffee. You are deep inside your head. We can sit together all afternoon looking at the snow, not knowing how long ago we came or when we'll go. I am deep inside my head. The house is only borrowed, so it's content not knowing how long ago we came or when we'll go. Someday I'd like to get inside your head and dig around. The house is only borrowed, so we're content. There won't be time to plant a garden. Someday I'd like to get inside your head and dig around. Some days you'd like to wake up somewhere else. There won't be time to plant a garden. I try to want it, but I don't. Some days I'd like to wake up somewhere else. This is something I'll never have to question. There won't be time to plant a garden. I call for you when I wake up. You don't answer. Some days I'd like to wake up somewhere else, but not today. I put on my glasses. I call for you when I sit up. You don't answer the way you always do every day, but not today. I put on my galoshes. I find you shoveling the walk the way you always do every day after a big snow. I find you shoveling the walk, the negative of a snowman after a big snow in your round black coat. Like a Christmas movie snowman, you do a funny dance. I wear your round brown coat. I take the second shovel. You do a funny dance. What can I do when you've done everything? I take the second shovel. I dig around a shrub. What can I do when you've done everything? We horse breathe beside the fence. I kick around a shrub. I want you to warm my fingers with your breath. We horse breathe beside the fence. There's nothing left to do. You warm your fingers with your breath. I want to make you sandwiches and coffee. There's nothing left to do. There won't be time to plant a garden. There's nothing left to do. No matter what I'm wanting, and wanting is a tricky thing, I want to sit down to sandwiches and coffee. No matter what I'm wanting, I'm glad to find you somewhere in the house. I want to sit down to sandwiches and coffee. I want the icicles longer on the gutter. I'm glad to find you somewhere in the house doing your after work doings. I want the icicles longer on the gutter. I hope for white bread, radishes, and butter. Doing your after work doings, you're as happy as you ever seem. I hope for white bread, radishes, and butter. I want you to call me lover. You're as happy as you ever seem. You pour the coffee, then the cream. I want you to call me lover. I want you to kiss me on the cheek. You pour the coffee, then the cream. When we stir, we might be the same person. From whose lips the kiss on whose cheek? Wanting is a tricky thing.
Oh,
Woo!
fantastic. Wow.
All right.
Amazing.
Okay, I'll read this one. This is a shorter one. This is a play on a sonnet, but instead of the rhyme words, all the end words are actually the same word. You'll hear it. Double portrait B15. I don't know why it seems important to tell you now that it wasn't a hickey you saw on my neck in the exact cliched hickey location under the ear where hickeys have been hickeyed since the first hickey. When what you said was, you have a hickey, and what you meant was, from another lover, and you couldn't stand it, not the hickey or the other lover, and yes, it could have been another lover's hickey, but it wasn't in this case, just a hickey-looking patch of peeling skin, problematic as a real hickey. I don't know why it seems important to bring up a little thing like a hickey, or why I want to tell you that my last hickey was weeks before on my thigh and from you, except that I know whatever hickey you're giving your new woman now, you'll get a kick out of knowing this hickey story, our last story. Let's call it the fight of the non-hickey hickey that sucked in everything. Thank you for laughing. I feel like I'm at, there's many readings where people don't dare make a noise, and it's very sad. So I appreciate that.
Well, I've been trying to get people to not be muted so much. because it can be a little unnerving to
I
not
know.
get a response.
I know, it's very strange.
Let's party, folks.
Yeah.
This is good shit.
Yeah, totally.
There might even be a dog that would bark in approval.
Yay.
Let it be so.
All right.
Okay. As you can probably tell, this collection has a lot of repetition. It's sort of interested in the way that, I mean, firstly, it's interested in that sort of like lyric convention of the I and the you that appear in poems, and that distance that happens in the lyric between like I here, you there. And it's also sort of interested in the way we use repetition to sort of allow obsessive thought to come out on the page. Like if you're anything like me and you like spend a lot of time going over things again and again, I was, curious about the way that we could make that happen on the page to sort of trigger the reader's brain to do a similar thing. So this book has a lot of repetition in it, both in terms of received forms, there's guzzles and pantoums and sonnets, but also just in terms of these highly repetitive free verse poems. So I'll read you one of those now. I see how I'm doing on time. Okay. Double Portrait B21. This is in a couple of sections. I want to kiss you now. I want to kiss you. Then I want to kiss you again. I want to kiss you when your mouth is full of chocolate and when your mouth is full of wine. And though your mouth is not always mine for kissing, I want to kiss you. I want to kiss you in the morning before you've eaten one sweet bite of the apple left by the bed in the French tradition. I want to kiss you when at night you set the apple very red by the bed. I want to kiss you and in bed when you say this is the French tradition of lovers. I want to kiss you though I'm skeptical. I want to kiss you, and when you say I want to kiss you, I want to kiss you more. And while I'm kissing you, I want to kiss you again and again. I'm sad while kissing you, nearly weeping. While kissing you, you're so close to leaving. And when you're gone, I kiss you in memory. And even now, kissing you gone, gone even now, kiss even now, I'm kissing you. I miss you meteorically, metaphorically. I miss you merrily. Missing you makes me mistake other women on the street for you. Missing you, I miss my train. I miss your train. When missing you, I miss the exit ramp. I miss you and there's an empty wine glass in my chest and my chest thinks it's missing organs. So I miss my heart. I miss the way it feels to have a stomach. I miss you mornings, afternoons, nights. Missing you sucks away the day. Missing you, I miss teach meter, rhyme, how to scan a line. Missing you like there's no tomorrow. There's no tomorrow in which I do not miss you. Missing you makes me sweaty, makes me mad, is maddening. I miss you and miss punctuate or don't miss missing punctuation altogether. I miss you murderously. I miss you mountainously, metaphorically and actually. I miss you most minutes before you even leave. I'm missing you. I want to kill you when I wake up. I want to kill you all day. And after I kill you, I want to nap and wake up killing you again when you're leaving. I want to kill you when you leave after kissing me. I want to kill you, especially after kissing so good. I want to kill you with hacksaw, with chainsaw, with each cliche blade. I want to kill you by opening each time release pill and releasing their true blue granules into your soda. Killing you through bendable straw, killing you with these little hands, with my toes in your nose, my underwear in your mouth. I want to invent new ways to kill you. Who needs a hacksaw, a chainsaw? I'll kill you by communicating with God. I'll kill you by believing in God if I have to. I'll kill you off in my dreams, even if it means I have to kill off sleep. I'll kill you and keep you from leaving and kissing and leaving myself. I'll kill you.
Wow.
I want to keep you from harm, keep you from crying. I want to keep you confined to the bed. I want to keep you by keeping you close. I want to keep you close to orgasm. I want to keep you coming back. I want to keep your pectorals and shins, your middle of the night thing for wheat thins and omelets. I want to keep you cooking, especially your pasta sauce. I want to keep it in Tupperware in the freezer. I want it to keep forever. I want to keep kissing you. I want to keep wanting you. I want to keep you wanting. I'll keep you drugged if I have to. I'll keep you company. I promise. I'll keep time with a tambourine to your trombone. Keep you cool in the summer. Keep fanning you with books. I'll keep warm in the winter with your breath in my hands. I want to keep your breath in your chest for longer than my breath will keep. I want to keep you kept.
Yes.
Wow.
Let's see. Okay. I will read you. How am I doing on time? Let me see here.
You're good. Don't think
Okay.
about it.
I always forget to set my timer right when I start, and then I never quite know how much time I have. Okay, I will read you two family poems. And these are from a different section in the book, and these are both ghazals, and I think of them as kind of a pair. The first one is a poem that I wrote for my father. It's an elegy, though I wrote it before he died, knowing that he was going to die. It was, for those of you that were in workshop with me, I was writing family poems back then, and I'm still sort of like writing that. In fact, the book that I'm writing now is memoir, not poetry, but I feel like I'm finally sort of like coming back to these subjects. And so this is a poem for my father before his death. We had not been in touch for more than 10 years when he died. And so this is you'll hear that in this poem. Double portrait F10. Today I'm not vomiting blood. Tomorrow I could be vomiting blood. It can happen after a sword fight or a sound night's sleep. You make coffee and boom, you're vomiting blood. You don't need a doctor to tell you it's bad news to be vomiting blood. I've seen all the second to last scenes in which the villain or tragic hero is vomiting blood. It doesn't matter how I feel or felt about someone once he's vomiting blood. This is how I know the villain and the tragic hero are the same man. He's the one vomiting blood. Tonight, with my warm feelings, I try to keep him alive, thinking from far away, no more vomiting blood. It's time to say I love you and mean it to the man who's vomiting blood. Now I'm afraid it's almost over. I'm afraid. Who stays living for long after vomiting blood? I love you. I mean it. A daughter should be holding the bin to catch your vomit and your blood. So I'm sort of interested in like how much, like what are the hardest things to repeat in a ghazal, because you sort of have to use that phrase or word that many times. And so like vomiting blood is, I hope, sort of like, while it's a very sad poem, sort of brings a lightness to it, because you can only hear that phrase so many times without it sort of like defamiliarizing and losing meaning. The other poem, the poem that I'll close with, is also a ghazal. And I was thinking, what other word would be a sort of like a necessary one, but maybe like a difficult one to use. And this one, you'll hear the repeated word is mother. So Richard, I guess this is like foreshadowing the Mother's Day, the Mother's Day reading.
Wonderful.
Coming up next. Double portrait F00. Every year in various states, I get off the plane and look for my mother. On the other side of the security door, already waiting, is my mother. She's the kind of person who Windexes the table directly after dinner. I'm the kind of person who leaves the dinner plates dirty. I'm nothing like my mother. In her house, while I do my very best to be neat, she washes my clothes. In my house, because I can't be very neat for very long, I long for my mother. In her house, so that I will sleep more easily, she makes my bed with her electric blanket. I sleep more easily because somewhere awake in the house is my mother. In my house, in order to sleep more easily, I sing a few lullabies. For this to work, I have to sing with the precise intonation of my mother. She can paint a portrait in oils and fix dinner from a can of mushroom soup. She can fix the dishwasher's plug drain and go for days without calling her mother. I can stay in bed for days without showering. I wear my bathing suit as underwear. What I cannot do is go for one day without calling my mother. On the phone, I'm likely to be grumpy, argumentative, dull, or silent. She'll often say cheerfully, life sucks, then you die, take it from your mother. We have this one thing in common. I think about myself almost all the time. She too thinks about me almost all the time. She says, because I'm your mother. When you have a kid, you'll understand. When are you having a kid? For the reasons above, I think it's better I never be anyone's mother. I know I better die before she does, but she says no, she'll never let this happen. I still somehow believe the greatest power in the universe is my mother. When she's mildly annoyed or when I've been away for a long time, she calls me by my full name, Brittany Titania, which is the way of every mother. There are certain words you can never say too many times, especially when crying. Mommy, mama, mommy, mom, where is my mother? I want my mother. Thanks, everybody.
Just
Wow. So great, so great. I don't feel like I began this evening as the Grinch, but somehow my heart has grown 2 sizes larger, you know? You
Nice.
have that feeling?
yes.
Really, just so amazing. And the poem about the hickey reminded me of a high school incident where I had to wear turtlenecks a lot because of a hickey. But one day I didn't, and somebody remarked, and I gave him a faux Shakespearean quote. He who jests at a wound has never felt a hickey. So thank you so much. Wow. And now I'd like to turn it over to some of the rest of us in the room. And I want to start with Diane Silvestri. Where are you? There you are. Yes.
That was a surprise. All right, here we go. So 1 second of background. I wrote to a gentleman in his 80s who has been in the poetry group that I had started on town and hadn't heard from him for a while. He's kept in touch with me all through COVID. Thought maybe something was wrong. Learned he had, in fact, pneumonia. And at the same time, that there was the juxtaposition of that message. And he also was having trouble walking, so he had PT with him. And then receiving a poem in my inbox that just produced this poem, which I sent to him. I read the poem in my inbox and wrote this with the same title. So this is Pain Management, after a poem by James Silas Rogers. Someday in your 70s or 80s, you may begin to ponder how it seems life has begun to trail through a series of extinctions. It might first be a vanished word, next the missing destination of some short journey just begun, or your purpose for laboring up the stairs to this room, or Jermaine open that stubborn door. Absent is the menu you planned when you removed the chicken breast from the freezer this morning. A list lengthens of items disappeared. Papers, eyeglasses, evaporated, gone from where they were as if a thief pilfered them last night. You say you usually discover them sometime later, but you wonder if one day the looter will not bring them back, leaving only a residual sadness in their place forever. You do not weep, you shuffle, wobble, or clump back to the kitchen to make a cup of chai. Go out to sit on the front porch. You notice 3 crocuses alongside the house. Spindly but erect, their potent purple issuing from deep in the spectrum, stolen from winter's silvery sky, seared through blue of restless spring. And further beyond is the yard, tuning its strings for new music.
Wow. Thank you, Diane. Next up, let me welcome to the spotlight, Kathy Whittam.
All right, for a little more heart opening. A boy and his dog. My sleep-dusted grandson lies clouded in his blanket after calling, "Grammy," and I come to perch at the foot of his bed. Abruptly, he pops up, flip-flops, head to footboard, like a fish. Then again, lies still as the lake at dawn, and long, belly down on his main moose sheet, feet inconceivably farther away than last month. After a while, his legs crawl away from sleep, squirming over the edge of the bed. His dog comes to lick the feet, hanging salty and loved. She laps them gently, repeatedly, until her languid tongue lands forgotten on his ankle. Then, as sudden as the day, he's upright. Thud of bare feet on rugged floor, detaching boy and waggling dog.
Wow. Dogs are essential to being. Please welcome David Miller.
Hi, everybody. Oh, well, here's something I was considering reading, and given the theme of long-term relationships from both Bob and Brittany, I definitely will read this. I'm sure everyone knows the story of Persephone and Hades. And as a little bit of background, between 1980 and 1995, I participated in a very long-running experimental theater piece titled Persephone and Hades. I was cast as Hades. This is, in retrospect, improbable, but that's how it happened. So this poem does not really at all reproduce what that piece was, but it's certainly inspired by the memories of that performance. So enough intro. Persephone and Hades. Let me tell you what I won with my peculiar genius. 6 months out of every year, an above grounder's idea. Month, year, rubbish heaps of burble they call words wrap around their already vanished lives. I suppose they mean something like half my time. There's another mouthing they mistake for reality. The truth is, I notice she's arrived. Then I notice she's gone. This is what my silent bride does. She arranges stones in circles, black through gray, through white, moon cycles in rock. The moon. I've seen it acting its amusement, hiding and exposing. This is something the moon must enjoy, as I assume she does. Stone circles riddle this place. No, she is not entirely speechless. I sometimes hear her voice, barest shade of sound, as she sits head to head with her entourage of wraiths on the banks or above the dunes. She's arrived again when she stands beside me with fists of torn flowers gathered from upside. She drops them and stares. I look at the girl face I desired, then at my feet. I'm surrounded by once floral dust heaps. They say she and I reign over the underworld in our matching obsidian thrones. This is funny. They saw this in a picture book. I tricked her and her mother. I captured my only bride. I could not end this if I begged. Beg. That's another hilarious gob of above ground mouth noise. I sealed this bargain. I don't give back.
Thank you, David. Wow. Excellent. And now please welcome Carla Schwartz.
Oh, she's
Wait,
muted.
wrong way, wrong way. Okay. I unmuted and I also unmuted my video. All right. Thank you. What an amazing night so far. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. 'Cause I got this dialogue I have to get rid of. All right. So I have a book that's coming out soon, and it's called Signs of Marriage, and this is a poem related, and it's also related to long-term relationships, and related to mother and father, and it's called 2020. Were you to have lived? You would have sat down at the kitchen table with my father that January night. Might have been the one to cook dinner for him, maybe a frozen soup, and even though he was not feeling well, he might not have been so indifferent as to wear his pajamas to dinner. Together at the table, you would have been there when his knees folded under as he tried to stand up, might even have caught him, or you'd have driven him to the doctor that day, or you'd have had more sense than him to stop the both of you from driving by then. You would have had a smartphone, would have taken it in hand and punched up an Uber, and when my father recovered, you'd sit calmly discussing whom to vote for, Bernie or Kamala. When the pandemic shut everything down, you would have both worn masks among strangers, maybe taking strolls around the block. But when you'd learned about George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, you'd remember the Nazi soldiers with their guns bursting into your home, and would have mourned for lives lost, mourned for being too old to stand and protest. The two of you would have kept company. You would have handled the technology, ordered meals, played the piano, video chatted with your friends. But by then you were long dead, and when my father's knees buckled him to the floor, as he lay there unable to rise, he might have looked up, heard you calling him, until the ambulance came. And that's it. And I'll put a little link to pre-order my book in case you're interested. It's still available. And
Thank you, Carla.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Next up, Margot Witzansky.
Hi, everyone. What a powerful night of poetry. This is another poem about long-term relationships. It's an anniversary poem. Loving. The Tupelos are dancing as they do every afternoon, dancing and twisting, pink gold on one side as the sun lowers, light climbing their trunks from grass to sky, pallid, wintry today, the Tupelos reaching out to each other, this gesture, a gentle dance, as if they've let go of passion that could open them like lightning, open them wide and vulnerable to wind. After, in the obsidian dark, my legs reach for your warmth, for the honey of your skin. Strange to say skin this old is honey. We've grown into each other, learned to accept the changes. Strange too to call this learning. It's not conscious like that, more like absorption, a taking in of each other. Like the Tupelos, let's dance and curl around each other as long as we can.
So beautiful.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you, Margot. Here, let me present Jonathan Abel.
That's me. What an evening. Let's see, this is called Again Awake at 3:22 a.m. As above, as below, negative sky white shivers into fish who startled, take flight, descending my waters, my before dawn black thoughts circling cranial endless playback. Give me safe harbor in teeming night. Plash and wave, surface water, wings invite to become birds that flee in pale fright, to fish becoming sky, seaweed zodiac, as above, below. Interlocking feather and fin, dizzy sight, unrested flashback, unschooled, no respite, the deeper disturbed, full of sleep lack, the more fish I become, and dark waters rack, and black wings prison the fish sky light, as above, below. And that's after one of the MC Escher etchings.
Oh, interesting. Wow, thank you. And now, live from Florida, completing our triangulation of Florida, San Francisco, and Maine, as I speak to you from the Boston area, here is Deb DiNicola.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Bob and Brittany. Just a really wonderful evening of poetry, powerful. This is a new poem, I think probably stimulated by the war. And it begins with an epigram. The poem's called The Secret Discipline. And the epigram is, we must live by the love of what we will never see. That is the secret discipline. And that was spoken by Reuben Alves. Let's decipher messages this mist scribbles into the long mane of the clouds through the aftermath of melted ice caps. Imagine we could read circles of runes to see what our children will inherit. Red lines for the future, broken covenants, air laced with pathogens, white phosphorus, crops pocked with plague. Can't we stop the gaslight now? We've even run out of cardboard for the roofs of shelters. How do we read burned books? How to survive on a diet of grasshoppers and smoke? Look who issued forth from the aperture of your body. Isn't she a beloved creature? Land is sacred and eternal. Animals wild, but wise. Let's live the secret discipline. Intuit ions from the sundew. Honor apricots, kumquats, and lime. Let's sow seeds in the infinite mind. Look into the eyes of children, blessing the brevity of a single lifespan. There's death, and then there's breath. Pass it on.
Wow, thank you so much. You know, that reminds me of William Carlos Williams' thought, you know, it is difficult to get the news from poems, yet we died miserably every day for lack of what is found there. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
And here is Lisa Andrews.
Woo!
This is Coda for an Unfinished Year. Bless whatever it is we're losing now, the moment we're inside. Bless even this present tense, the screens we're living through. The way last year on an early summer night, my husband and I attended a poetry reading in California online, a launch that began in another country, then traveled across this one east to west. I loved the light, the woman reading on her porch, her chair tilting slightly forward, my husband and I listening like children before bed, the sun still visible just over the horizon on our screen, I mean her porch.
Nice. I loved the way each word was so accentuated. It came alive being read out loud. And now someone whose name rhymes with Godot, Jennifer Badeau.
Oh dear, oh dear. Okay. So I'm going to read a poem. My son's birthday is tomorrow, so I'm going to read a poem called Motherboard.
Nice.
I don't have a lot of mother poems, but this is one of them. motherboard. Those were the years of away, between rain and rain, and the blue spear of land and the cry of waters. When green smoke wended wet and seeds were riven, and my hands pulled over and under a gleaming contraption. With grit and shine, I harvested, stitched, and laid by packages. I built a store, and as each need lit up my board, I delivered. I delivered.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I love
Gorgeous.
the hula hoop. I'm a hula hooper.
Oh, the hula hoop.
Yes.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
there it is.
Yes.
Woo!
Love it.
Okay, I'm not gonna hula hoop for you all, but
No, that's okay. And now, Carrie Loftman.
Hello. Oh.
Yes, you're good.
I'm good. Another wonderful Friday night. I'm going to add to the list of long relationship poems. It was a very short one. This is called Long Marriage. When you touch me, I forget that I am old, that my skin wrinkles and rolls, and that age spots bloom on all my peninsulas. When you touch me, we're in our 20s again, lying hot below clay cliffs of Aquina, flagrant, undeterred.
God love you.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
beautiful.
And now our penultimate open mic reader. Let me introduce you to Eleanor Kedney.
Yay.
What a wonderful evening of poetry. Oh my God. Thank you for including me. I decided to read a poem for the Mother's Day. A little bit of history is that my second book, which is going to be published by Three Taos Press, is about infertility and child loss. So this poem is about a girl that I have sponsored since she was very young in India, who calls me mom. It's called Women in Translation. It's a prose poem. Early Sunday morning, Saritha calls me with her biological mother visiting from the village. Lakshmi has learned "I love you" in English. She sits against a pillow on a couch and repeats the words while Saritha holds the camera phone. There's triumph in her voice and her lips recline into a soft smile. Every time I call her, she asks me if I've called my mom. She thinks you are a goddess for always taking care of me. I shift my weight center in my chair, stare at Lakshmi. A goddess is linked to literal or metaphorical pregnancy, things women are known for: spinning, weaving, creativity, and fate. Lakshmi, married at 13, birthed 4 daughters. A widow, she still works in the rice fields. Her love for me is a sudden burst of air moving over the earth. I've never been shoulder to shoulder with a woman like Lakshmi. What should I learn to say in Telugu? Saritha suggests, Miru ala unaru, how are you? The letter N as in New York, 2 of them together to be rolled in harmony off my tongue. I'll practice the pronunciation for her next visit. I'll begin with namaste, both hands pressed together, fingers pointed upward, thumbs on the inside near my chest. I bow to the divine in you. May our minds meet. Saritha shows me a box with blue letters, ovum safe, prescribed by her doctor. She reads the ingredients and I confirm they are nutrients and not hormones. It is folic acid, and that's good. It's been 4 years married. They looked inside my belly. I ask if dye was used and translate the procedure to her as a hysterosalpingogram. They are looking for a misshapen uterus and blocked fallopian tubes. I remember the technologist positioning my legs on the examination table, inquiring, have you had this done before? When I told her I hadn't, she glanced at the radiologist, her face slack with premonition. I jackknifed, told her to call my husband. I wouldn't be able to drive home. Saritha's watchful eyes wade through my deep exhale. I know that kind of pain.
Wow.
Love that we're press mates.
Not yet, not yet. I'm almost done. I'm almost done with the book. Soon.
Wow. Such a great evening. I want to end by indicating that I am not just the host of this series, but I'm also a poet. So here is a poem, and I want to give a little shout out to the opening quote in my new manuscript called Small Beauties. It's by Sharon Olds. I am paying attention to small beauties, whatever I have, as if it were our duty to find things to love, to bind ourselves to this world. And so here is the title poem, Small Beauties. The pebble David picked from his shepherd's field to bring down Goliath. The adulterer's stone, the one not thrown. Boulder rolled from the tomb when the women come with spices and oil and are answered by those in clothes that gleam like lightning. My kidney, the staghorn stone of sharpest discomfort. Weighing down Virginia Woolf's overcoat pockets as she walks into the river Ouse. Soup in the generosity that follows. When I lose my way, cairns. Childhood collection I can't put at the curb because no one would love them as much as I do. Silent companions known my whole life that will rest atop my grave.
Beautiful.
So this really was sent out of the ballpark. This was a Red Sox win of a night. And please, if you could, please lavish praise upon our feature poets, and let's discuss what so moved us in this evening. I really have to say that the Robert Pinsky quote came alive in tonight's reading, that, you know, to have poems ushered out of the mouths of their authors really lent so much to the work. And I hope you will take that in with you as you buy their books and relive the experience of these wonderful words we've experienced tonight. Unmute thyself.
Unmute and say your words. I'll start because this has been a really extraordinary reading for me. And first, it's what I said before, I had the opportunity to spend weeks with Brittany's work, which I felt like it's like this fucking magical connection again and again and again. And then tonight for this reading to see so many extraordinary poets that I love. What an amazing gift. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shouldn't someone write an ode to Zoom?
Yes,
Don't you
absolutely.
think? We appreciate it so much. This would not have happened without this wonderful technology.
Very true. Very true. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Robert and Brittany. I have no original sounding comments to make, but I'm very grateful. And I'll have to leave now, I think, but take care, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Take care, David.
Bye, David.
Bye.
Yeah,
Thank
bye-bye
you
all.
very much. It was
Yeah,
really
good
night.
wonderful tonight.
Brittany, I was
Thank-
blown away at the spell that you cast with the repetition. I was just carried away with it. It was unexpected, and it comes when you read it. It just comes off the page so differently. I mean, it envelops me.
Thank you so much, Gray. I appreciate that so much. Yeah, I feel like once you start down that path of repetition, it's hard to get out. I feel like I'm still, I'm like still in there after this, many years later. I'm still, I don't know, I still have that in my spirit or something.
I almost imagined that those poems could be staged. There was something very theatrical going on there. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, Richard, like it's just hearing the poems out loud and hearing everybody's voices in one space and hearing the poems like that. It's like so different than encountering the work on the page, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might also have, sort of how to read the poem, like pronto, or, certain like musical notations to indicate how fast you should be reading these poems.
Totally. I'm not opposed to that. I mean, I think hopefully the poem, right, like for all of us when we're writing, right, like we want someone else to be able to experience that when they get it on the page, right, and like to have that happen for them in the air in their own voice. And I hope that happens, because I definitely want that.
Yeah. And my experience is when I have a hard copy of my reading, and I have a specific mark which says to me, slow down. Because I think there's power in the silence.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I was with you, Bob, as always, left breathless and speechless by being so engaged and transported as I listened to you read your poetry. Brittany, I heard you first at Newtonville Books quite a few years ago reading, and fell in love with you completely then.
Lovely.
Bought your book, lost it somewhere, or gave it to someone, and have missed it ever since. And I was like, what? I was there with Barbara, and I was like, that was amazing. What is it? What is she doing? I was like, she is doing something. I'll tell you what she's doing, but I never heard it. But I'm so happy to hear you again and hear from the same book and be in a different place myself, hearing it again and really delighting in you again.
Oh, Kathy, thank you. That is so nice. Yeah, I remember that reading and seeing Barbara and many of us that day, and it was a really special time for me. So thank you for that. I really appreciate that.
Bob, I wanted to say that the Maplethorpe poem was like, you brought Exfraxics poetry to a completely new level. I really am looking, I just ordered your books and I'm looking forward to slowing down and reading it. But it was just the dialogue that you had with his images was stellar. I mean, I just the back and forth, the personal and the image that you were relating to, it was just so rich.
Oh, thank you, Gray. So I as I said in the chat, we've been orbiting each other for a long time through Eric and other folks.
Yeah.
And in terms of that book, so I as some of you know, I came to poetry after this 30-year career in public health that sort of, in some ways, I feel like derailed me. But coming back to it with the manuscript the editor, Andrea Watson, pushed those epistolary poems. She saw the letter to Mapplethorpe and she said, you have to write more of those. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, because it forced me to look at who I was through the HIV pandemic, both psychically and sexually. But to create a dialogue with someone who I have very mixed feelings about. Mapplethorpe's trajectory is really very complicated. So thank you so much for that.
What a rich prior career to tap into, to bring poetry out of that for the rest of us. I'm really quite struck at how I'm pleased that you came from that career to write and to write about that. And that's not all that you're writing about, but I'm just glad that you're bringing that life experience to us.
No, thank you.
Very unique.